Inside Syria's House of Horrors, Sednaya Prison, Sednaya. The name itself sends chills down the spines of those familiar with its dark reality. Located just a short distance from Syria's bustling capital, Damascus, Sednaya Prison stands as a chilling monument to the brutality of Bashar al-Assad's regime. It is a place where the very essence of humanity is stripped away, where torture isn't just a method, but a way of life. From the moment detainees enter Sednaya's gates, they are subjected to a systematic and calculated regime of cruelty. Torture is not an exception, it is the norm. Prisoners endure unspeakable horrors, from savage beatings and electric shocks to sexual assault and mock executions. Their bodies bear the indelible marks of their suffering, a testament to the depravity that thrives within the prison walls. The recent fall of Assad's regime brought to light the true extent of the atrocities committed within Sednaya's walls. As the iron grip of the regime loosened, the world watched in horror as mass graves were uncovered, revealing the remains of countless souls who had vanished within the prison's depths. The white helmets, those courageous first responders, worked tirelessly to exhume the bodies, desperate to give names to the nameless and return lost loved ones to their grieving families. Among the deceased were individuals like Sami Chaib, his body bearing the horrific marks of mutilation, a chilling reminder of the sadistic nature of his torturers. Mazen al-Hamada, an activist who dared to raise his voice against the regime, also met his end within Sednaya's walls, his voice forever silenced. Dia Habal, another victim of Assad's reign of terror, joined the ranks of the disappeared, his fate a grim reminder of the human cost of oppression. Echoes of atrocity. Al-Ha'ir prison in Saudi Arabia. Thousands of miles away in the heart of Saudi Arabia lies another prison shrouded in infamy, Al-Ha'ir. Located in the capital city of Riyadh, Al-Ha'ir serves as a stark reminder that the suppression of dissent and the silencing of opposition know no geographical boundaries. It is within the confines of Al-Ha'ir that Saudi Arabia imprisons those deemed a threat to its authoritarian rule: journalists, activists, and anyone who dares to challenge the status quo. Reports of torture within Al-Ha'ir paint a grim picture of the prison's reality. Detainees, many of whom have never been formally charged with a crime, are subjected to brutal interrogations, often involving physical and psychological abuse. Sleep deprivation, beatings, and threats of sexual violence are commonplace tactics used to break the spirit of those unfortunate enough to find themselves within Al-Ha'ir's grasp. The cases of Raif Badawi and Loujain al-Hathlul stand as stark examples of the Saudi regime's willingness to silence dissenting voices. Badawi, a blogger who dared to advocate for freedom of expression, was sentenced to 10 years in prison and subjected to a public flogging, a brutal spectacle meant to deter others from following in his footsteps. Al-Hathlul, a prominent women's rights activist, endured years of imprisonment and torture for her fearless advocacy, her voice temporarily silenced but her spirit unbroken. A shared state-sanctioned repression. Though separated by geography and political context, Sednaya and Al-Ha'ir are tragically united by their shared purpose to silence, punish, and break those who dare to challenge the established order. They are grim monuments to the human capacity for cruelty, stark reminders that the pursuit of power often comes at a devastating human cost. These prisons, and the countless others like them scattered across the globe, serve as chilling testaments to the enduring threat posed by authoritarian regimes and their insatiable thirst for control. The methods employed within these institutions of repression may vary, but their goals remain eerily similar. Whether through the systematic brutality of Sednaya or the calculated cruelty of Al-Ha'ir, the message is clear: dissent will not be tolerated. Those who dare to question, to challenge, or to resist will be met with the full force of the state's repressive machinery. The stories that emerge from within the walls of these prisons are not merely tales of individual suffering, though the human cost is undeniable and heartbreaking. They are indictments of the systems that allow such atrocities to occur, of the governments that prioritize power over human rights, and of the international community that too often turns a blind eye to the suffering inflicted in the name of stability or strategic interests. A call for justice, a plea for change. The horrors of Sednaya and Al-Ha'ir, along with countless other prisons like them, must not be allowed to fade into obscurity. The international community has a moral obligation to demand accountability for the atrocities that have been committed and to work tirelessly to ensure that such abuses never happen again. This requires a multifaceted approach, one that combines pressure on repressive regimes with support for human rights defenders and victims of torture. Governments around the world must make it clear that the perpetrators of these crimes will be held accountable. Targeted sanctions, travel bans, and asset freezes can be effective tools in putting pressure on individuals responsible for human rights abuses. Furthermore, international tribunals and courts must be empowered to investigate and prosecute those who have committed crimes against humanity. However, true change cannot be achieved solely through punitive measures. It requires a fundamental shift in how the international community addresses issues of human rights and democracy. Supporting civil society organizations, promoting freedom of expression, and advocating for the rule of law are essential steps in creating societies where such atrocities are unthinkable.